What is up, everybody? It's time for On the Ball podcast. We're back. It's been a couple of weeks, but I mean, you already know what you're going to get from the show. We have a lot of great topics for you tonight. Obviously, we're going to culminate it all with the NBA Finals prediction, breakdown, all that good stuff with it starting Thursday. Thankfully, it seemed like basketball's been away for like 2 months now. So we'll deep dive into that, but we're going to get started with the NFL. But even before we get into that, got to start with introducing, the crew. We're still short Jake, but he'll definitely be back soon. We got Dylan right here next to me. Dylan, how are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Excited for these NBA finals coming up, like you mentioned. It's going to be a very, very interesting from start to stop. So, from the top to bottom, every single game should be hopefully super close, something competitive, something like we really want to like. We have like a great set of basketball players in this finals, so I can't wait to see where it's going to go. I mean, this is probably a matchup that was probably second, third on the list of what people expected, but now that it's here, it's like, oh, how is this actually going to play out? So I'm excited to see where it's going. And of course, the NFL's on OTAs, all their mini camps, all that stuff. So it's cool hearing what's going on, getting not hyped about, the pad highlights and stuff like that. All that fun.
Yeah, you haven't had your fill of OTAs thrown into nets and hitting wide open receivers downfield. You're not full on that yet.
No, I'm not too big on it. Anyone can do that. Okay. Especially if you don't have people tackling you and thousands and thousands of fans screaming at you.
Exactly. I mean, something to fill the time for NFL people. So, shout out to them. But yeah, right here below, you got guard at 3. Brett, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, and it's funny you say that, Dylan, because I saw the most hilarious thing on Twitter where it was T-Law completed a pass to Brian Thomas with no defense, and they captioned it, Trevor Lawrence threads the needle. How do you thread a needle with no defense on the field? What are you talking about?
Exactly. It's just something to make their dudes look good,
Yeah. All right. Like I said, we'll go ahead and get into NFL first. So first off, we got to start with the new money man, Justin Jefferson, got paid. I feel like this is something that, I feel like early in the offseason, they were talking about could Justin Jefferson force his way out, everything like that. I never bought into it, especially since they didn't have Kirk Cousins' big money on the books. Like the money was there to sign Justin Jefferson, and that's what they did. So he's going to have to work with a new quarterback. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy was drafted for a reason. So I guess initial thoughts on the deal. Do you like it? Are you like Mike Tannenbaum, who said on ESPN like he would have traded him for picks? Like where do you come in? I mean, Brett, this does affect your division, so I'll go with you second. Dylan, like, what are your initial thoughts on the Justin Jefferson deal?
I mean, it's smart if you're the Vikings. I mean, of course, if you're Justin Jefferson, you probably want to play with a quarterback. Nothing against, J.J. McCarthy, but he's a rookie. He's not proven. Sam Darnold is definitely not the quarterback you want to play with. So they had to pay him. I mean, from the Vikings' point of view, if you think J.J. McCarthy is worth that 9th overall pick that you got for him, I mean, you got to pay a receiver. You got to give him a number one, and why not give him the best number one that there probably is in the league? Arguably, of course, but Justin Jefferson is arguably one of the best receivers in the league. You got to pay the man. You got to pay him like the best. I mean, he is the best, and you just hope you can get that, that chemistry going between those two. But for the Vikings, it makes sense. I mean, trading him for picks could have been something, but I mean, what are the odds that you're going to get another Justin Jefferson in that draft again? Like, this is a perfect weapon for a rookie quarterback, and you just paid him to be there for his whole progression. So I think it's really smart for Minnesota.
All right. So yeah, Brett, as a Packers fan, like, what would you think about this?
I mean, it's a deal that happened. I mean, so being honest though, it's a good deal for the Vikings. It looks like a lot of money, but obviously they're in a situation where they can afford to pay Justin Jefferson a lot of money. They don't have to pay their quarterback for another 5 years. So this 4-year deal matches perfectly up with that timeline. We know the Vikings aren't being serious competitors anytime soon, so that also paying big money to a wide receiver doesn't hurt them now. So overall, I think it's a good deal. Vikings show loyalty to Justin Jefferson and pay him for all of his hard work. So, tip my hat to the Minnesota Vikings for making the right call here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there with you. It's easy to do this when you have a rookie quarterback. I mean, Darnold's not costing you a lot either, but JJ McCarthy, if he's the guy, you'll have him for 5 years on cheap money. Why not? Why not give him every opportunity to succeed that you can? You got Jordan Addison, who's on his own rookie deal. You're keeping around Justin Jefferson. They brought in Aaron Jones in the offseason as well. So it's not a bad starting point for a guy in JJ McCarthy that coming out of Michigan. We kind of don't know what kind of quarterback he is. All we knew was that Michigan, he could run Harbaugh's system, which was a lot of ground and pound, a lot of seemingly safe throws for him. Now maybe he can open it up a little bit, show a little bit more of his ability with all these weapons around him. So, yeah, I feel like it was the smart decision to make and probably the only decision for Minnesota to make. So, I mean, Brett, I'm going to come back to you. So, as a Packers fan on a scale of 1 to 10, how mad were you when you saw that they worked this out?
I would have been madder if it didn't feel like it was inevitable, because that's kind of how I was looking at it. So I was like, all right, well, we got to deal with Jettis for another 4 years. That's not ideal. I'm kind of irritated about that, but at the same time, it's something I've been able to mentally prepare for all offseason, because you want to put McCarthy in the best shot to just succeed. The way to do that is to pay Jefferson now and help McCarthy's development.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I feel like a side discussion that needs to be had with the Justin Jefferson news is the wide receiver market in general. Like, we kind of saw that. Well, we're seeing it still with the quarterback market, where everybody's like, at a certain point, it kind of has to correct itself, and somebody can't obviously just get the most money. Looking at the wide receiver group, you're already starting to hear rumblings from certain wide receivers that really want to talk now, because Jefferson has set that market. You have guys like T. Higgins and these other ones who, CD Lamb, who will be looking for new deals. It's like, I don't know how crazy it gets before somebody can't get the most money. So is it a situation where the wide receiver market probably needs a correction, or do you think it gets even more out of hand if you think the Jefferson deal was too much?
I mean, when has the league ever corrected itself properly? I mean, we always talk about the running back market and how it's not the greatest, We talk about just all the different things. I mean, the salary cap's going to go up. The prices are going to go up. I mean, Jefferson was a staple point. You would think it might maybe be a little bit different with him being the top receiver in the league, or at least a top 3. Having contracts like that might kind of vary, but all these guys are going to want their money. They're going to think they're going to play like the best. So all these guys are just going to keep making more and more. They're just going to keep asking for more and more.
All right. I mean, Brett.
I think it'll correct itself on contenders, because I think teams that really know how to put teams together realize they don't have to pay a receiver 35, 40 million a year, 30 million a year. Like we watch, Kansas City just won. Who was their number 1 receiver paid? Not a lot. You can argue it's Travis Kelce, but even he's getting paid, 16, 18 mil a year? I watched Brady win rings with guys like, Philip Dorsett and just Chris Hogan and all these other guys. So I think the wide receiver market in general is going to keep going up. But I think if you're looking at contending teams, that's where you'll start to see a correction, because your smart teams are going to be like, no, I'm not giving you 35 mil when I can pay 3, equally talented guys 10 mil a piece and just have an even deeper room in case something happens.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with you there. Anthony does have a question. Who gets paid first, Chase or CD Lamb?
CD? I feel like
I'd probably say CD. Because they're already in talks about it, and the only reason I think CD's waiting was 1 for this Jefferson deal, and 2 for Dak to get paid, to see what can we work with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, the Bengals. The Bengals have a decision. Well, Tyler Boyd is out of the equation for the Bengals. He moved on to Tennessee. They still have Higgins that they need to sign, Chase as well. So they can probably wait a little bit. Dallas has to make a decision on somebody at some point. Between Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, it's just like Jerry, you're gonna have to pay somebody to get
Oh,
it
it's going to
going.
be Micah.
I mean, you'd think so, but I don't know what Jerry's got going on right now.
I don't know. Him and Zeke are probably just partying right now, having that still reunion tour.
Right. We'll see. Although that does kind of transition into our second topic, because these are three quarterbacks that need their money. All three of them would be free agents next season. So you're looking at Tua, Dak, and Jordan Love. You can only sign one, obviously, to big money. Who would you give the money to?
I'm giving it to Jordan Love, if I'm being honest. I mean, I've seen results from Jordan Love. I mean, one of these guys on the graphic, Jordan Love beat in the playoffs last year. I mean, that goes without saying. He sat for a while and has shown like when he got his opportunity, he did well. It's not like he's had multiple opportunities to do so. This is our first chance seeing Jordan Love, and he did amazing. I mean,
Mhm.
of course you look at someone like Tua or Dak, someone who's maybe played more seasons or played just has that more like the more touches, more snaps, something like that. But what have they done with it? I mean, both of these guys have top ranked receivers, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, two guys who are going to break record receiving markets. Who's Jordan Love's top receiver? Who's Jordan Love's $30 million dude? Doesn't have one. I mean, this guy has been playing really well with what he has in a good system. He waited long. I'd pay the man who's given results with lesser talent and then give him more talent. That'd be the way I would go.
Okay. I mean, Brett, we obviously know you're picking Tua, so you don't have to really elaborate
Yeah,
too
yeah.
much.
Give me the guy who can't win a game in December and January. Yeah, absolutely. Can't throw a ball in the cold weather. Uh, and Dylan nailed this one, right? Because we've seen Tua for a while now with arguably the top receiver in the league, right up there, Tyreek Hill
And Jalen Waddle.
We've seen Dak with receivers like CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper, and yet Jordan Love's whole receiving room cost $23 million last year, and he absolutely smoked Dak Prescott, completely outplayed him. He put together a better postseason run than Tua could ever dream of. And I get it. Jordan Love still got some things to work on. He's got to work on that footwork. He's got to stop with the, Brett Favre gunslinger mentality he throws at times. But I think with this one, it's easy. You show the one guy that's actually giving you some postseason results, and that's Jordan Love.
Now, I know Anthony did bring up paying Love for 1 year. And obviously, that would be your worry is that you pay him and he's not the guy who he's starting to project to be. I feel like you kind of have to go with Jordan Love here. Like, I know, obviously, money-wise, I think Dak technically makes sense because a new deal with him lowers his cap hit while the other two, it would raise theirs. But we're going to treat it as, like, equal playing field. I feel like with Jordan Love, you're obviously paying him for the upside. For Dak, you're paying him more for, I guess, his consistency regular season-wise on the hopes that eventually they somehow click and everything works at the same time and they can finally break through. I kind of agree with you. I'd go Jordan Love just looking at these three, like off the bat, because I do think last season was a big step for Jordan Love. And the only reason why it's only been Love for 1 year was Green Bay tried to squeeze every bit they could out of Aaron Rodgers, probably a year or two too long. I feel like we should have seen Jordan Love before last season. And from what I saw, I was thoroughly invested in what he could be next year. Because look, now it's a whole different thing. He's tasted the success of the postseason. Now he's gonna, probably train a little differently. He'll prepare a little differently. And I think we'll see a better version of him come next year. Although, I mean, Tua got no love in this conversation. I mean, come on, it's Tua. But so is Tua so out of the three, would Tua be the one you'd give the money to the least?
Yes.
Yeah. He's had the most
Absolutely.
to work with, I could believe.
Yeah.
And he plays in, warm weather all the time.
Yeah.
No, that's my biggest issue with Tua is, to me, once again, he has a losing. He's 10-11 in December and January, and when is the most important time of the year played? In January. So you're telling me if I put Tua in the cold weather scenario, he's just gonna, kind of sink my chances to win? Come on now, I don't really want that, And I think Tua, don't want to hate on Tua too much here, but I think in this scenario, Tua's easily last, and I don't think it's actually all that close either.
And Anthony said, because Jory did say that Dallas doesn't have a backup plan for Dak, which, yes, Dallas has definitely painted themselves in a corner. To Anthony's point of Trey Lance is the backup plan for Dak. Anthony, if you know what Trey Lance is as an NFL quarterback, then feel free to let us know, because I don't know what he is. I feel like that's a bold take to have him be your backup plan when you're not really sure what kind of quarterback he could be. But he technically is the backup plan in Dallas.
Brock Purdy was the Trey Lance backup plan.
Right.
I see what Anthony's saying, but at the same time, I think Jory's correct. If Trey Lance is your backup plan, you don't have a backup plan.
Yeah.
It's not like Jacoby Brissett, someone as that backup QB right now.
Hey, Jacoby Brissett is America's backup. That's why he's in New England where he belongs. Yes. Back in New England where he deserves to be. All right. I mean, anything else you, I guess, want to add about these three?
I mean, also with Jordan Love, I feel like his contract would be, one, the easiest to work out, and two, he has probably a chance to be the cheapest out of, all the three as well, too. So it just would incentivize me to want him more than any of the rest.
And I think with that, too, is you look at all three of these, and only one of them still has, like, a relatively unknown, could have a very high ceiling, right? Like, what Dak is, what Tua is. We don't know what Jordan Love is yet. And last year, in a system where his only 100-yard receiver all year was Bo Melton, he put up numbers that were right up there with other MVPs of the league. So, like, to me, that's also, like, looking at it, it's just like, all right, not only is his contract might be the most manageable, but I think he's the only one who has, like, legitimate, like, superstar upside out of the three.
All right, so I thought just have another question. So looking at these three, I feel like the answer is probably going to be obvious, but rank the three of them in terms of pressure to perform next season.
That's tough because as much as we downgraded Tua on this, I think him and Dak are kind of in that same area, especially both being in extension talks. Both of them get it. Like, they both have pressure to succeed. Both these teams have lacked in the playoffs. I mean, not really shown anything for what they're worth. And if they get big contract extensions, Jordan Love has the least of worries, especially with what Brett said. He's still more of an unknown. We don't know 100% what we're getting out of Jordan Love. But with all these other guys, Dak and Tua, man, we know what they've done, and they know their expectations. And if they don't succeed this year, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough to keep supporting these guys year in and year out if they're not even going to win a playoff game. So I think both of them are kind of equal for me. I'd maybe say Tua just because how much money they're throwing on that receiving core. Maybe they're just more talented, but it's neck and neck. CD's getting paid too.
For me, it's Dak, Tua, then Love. I think it's Dak because there's actual expectations for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, the Miami Dolphins, we knew maybe could possibly make a run, but we knew they weren't also right up there with the best of the best teams in that, side of the field. So it's just like, okay, you have expectations. The Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott every year They're going all in. They're one piece away. They're running it all the way to the Super Bowl, to the
Them
conference.
boys.
Like they have expectations that I think are much heavier than the ones on Tua and the Dolphins. And every year, Dak just folds like a dollar store lawn chair every time without fail. So to me, I think the answer is Dak. Tua, although I do agree with you, Dylan. I think they're close, but I'm going to give the edge to Dak on this one. And then Jordan Love.
I mean, now that you say that, I agree. I'm a little more confident saying Dak being number one or agreeing with that, just because the NFC is weaker. You look at that AFC, you have tough guys. I mean, the Bills are a team you have to play twice. The Jets are going to be better. You got the Bengals, the Browns, the Ravens, the Chiefs. I mean, so many other teams. The Steelers are going to probably potentially be good. You gotta look out. It's hard to even to get a wild card spot, let alone win your division. As where Cowboys, yes, they do have the Eagles, but both those teams are either one's the division champ, one's the first wild card, and it's like that mostly every year.
Okay, so I could make an argument for Tua being number one with the most pressure. And I feel like it's because of, well, Anthony brings up one point. The injury history is still something that Tua has to get by. But also, I feel like more people question Tua's ability to be a starting quarterback over Dak. So it's almost like Tua seems like he's fighting for his position with Miami. Because I feel like if Miami doesn't have the year that they're expecting, especially with like Buffalo, nobody really knows what's going on in Buffalo with losing Diggs and some of the guys on defense. Some of the changes in the coaching staff, like we're not really sure. Buffalo was a little bit, underwhelming last year at times. You already know about New England. You got the Jets, despite what Aaron Rodgers says about them being, must-see TV and all this stuff. Like they have their own issues in New York as well. I think to some, they're going to look at Miami as a team that probably should win the division. I wouldn't go that far because, like I said, I think the division is going to be more competitive. But, looking at the way their season ended last year, the questions about Tua with the injury and like arm strength and everything like that, he may actually have more pressure on himself than Dak. As crazy as that might sound, because with that star in the helmet and everything that comes with it. But I just feel like for Tua, it's like he still seemingly is trying to convince Miami that he's a guy that they can build with.
Who didn't help any of these guys' situations? CJ Stroud being just so good as a rookie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like him being making the playoffs and being one of the top quarterbacks just during felt like the last stretch of the month, really last couple months. It was just like, man, Tua, come on, man, what's going on? Like Dak, this dude did it his first year with way less. No offense to anything the Texans had, but very much way less in comparison. Nobody expected Nico Collins and Tank Dell to be super great, of course, but I'm not sure. You gave him Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I'm pretty sure Stroud would have went crazier.
Yeah. Let's see. So I did say Anthony said because of the injury, and Jory says it's different type of pressure. She agrees. Yeah, so that's another thing. I mean, ultimately, I do think it's probably Dak, but I feel like there is an argument for Tua as well.
I also feel like Dak just might not have pressure just because he's just Jerry Jones guy, and so it's just like he won't leave until he's old if they can keep having good seasons.
That's also a good point. Let's see, two different situations. The Dolphins and the Texans were LOL. Yeah. But I mean, I feel like I do agree with Dylan in the case that CJ Stroud was the number 2 behind Bryce Young. And he outperformed Bryce Young, even though that's kind of out of Bryce Young's hands with what's the mess that is Carolina. But yeah, CJ Stroud's going to make teams look at some of their young quarterbacks and everything like that a little bit differently. And even looking at what Houston did in the offseason and everything like that, CJ Stroud, you could probably say, has a lot of pressure on himself as well to prove it wasn't just a one-year wonder with him. So I don't know. The quarterback position, I think, is in a interesting spot now with some of the young guys that like Caleb Williams and all that this year. Your second-year guys can Bryce Young look better than he did last year? Is CJ Stroud legit? Are Houston a legit team? I don't know. some interesting storylines amongst the quarterback
I'll
position.
say Tua very well could be gone. Like, what happens if Tua doesn't win the division? Like, this will be his best chance to. Like, what happens if he falters? Like, what happens if he doesn't win that division? Do they really start looking for new quarterbacks, or if they win the wild card spot and he's one and done? It'll be interesting because I really think their only competition in that division. Like, you can talk about the Bills, but I think his biggest threat is going to be. It depends how healthy Aaron Rodgers comes back. It could be the New York Jets. It really feels like the Dolphins division to win, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. We'll see. All right. I mean, this is Brett's like dream. We talked Jordan Love, now we transition to Aaron Rodgers. So this is a topic I heard on ESPN. They talked about Aaron Rodgers and Eli Manning, and I feel like the question was, whose career would you rather have? Now, if you look at it, Aaron Rodgers has the numbers, has all the accolades and everything. He's got the one ring and the one appearance. Eli Manning has the pedigree with the Manning last name, has the 2 rings, and I don't know if you want to take it to like off the field as well, where like Rodgers is kind of hated. Eli is seen as, the funny Manning brother. It seems like he's kind of more loved outside of football than he was kind of in it, maybe. I don't know, it's just me. But yeah, looking at these two, whose career would you rather have?
I mean, personally, if I'm saying taking out every outside factor in, and I'm like living my life just running through a simulation of Aaron Rodgers or Eli Manning, man, I'm probably gonna take Eli Manning. And it's nothing against Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's just he has a lot of attention on him 24/7, and it's not really the greatest most of the time. I mean, he does it to himself. I'll give that. Let that be said. But at the end of the day, I mean, having 2 Super Bowls is nice. I mean, I don't know. With Rodgers, I mean, the stats and stuff is cool. I won't get that, but it's just he's always just feels like he's a talk of something, and it's never really the greatest. I mean, he's an exceptional football player, has the MVPs to prove it, but it just seems like he's always on like the verge of just something where people are like, just some people. Aaron Rodgers leaves a sour taste in their mouth, and Eli, it seemed like he did that when he was playing, just because the Giants, didn't seem like the Giants were. It's the Giants, people are gonna love him, people are gonna hate him. And maybe having that Manning last name, doesn't help a lot of people as well liking Eli. But overall, I think I would take Eli's career. Just having the Super Bowls is nice. Maybe just staying out of that light as much, and now just being like a loved TV. Don't want to say loved, but a really liked TV figure now. Having that show with Eli, that Monday Night Football show, it's really good. So I would say Eli. 2 rings is cool. Better than 1.
All right, Brett.
See, to me, this is easy because, like, it says I get his career on the field, and listen, even if I have to get an office, if I start with negative publicity, that's fine. Like, I think I'm the kind of guy that can really turn that around for me. So, give me Rodgers, give me the more MVPs, give me my Super Bowl ring, give me more money, give me in the discussion of being one of the top 5 or 6 greatest quarterbacks to ever step foot on a football field. Yeah, to me, this one's Aaron Rodgers because. Like, and that's nothing against Eli Manning. Eli is, great. I love him in Manning cast, but I just don't think this is really, for me, this isn't all that close. Give me Aaron Rodgers on and off the field.
I'm just about not being the big media person. I don't care, making the waves, all the weird stuff about it. I get it, though. I mean, if I could have their talents and then choose the career path myself, then yeah. If I could be Aaron Rodgers and, say my own things, to try to turn some things around, of course it'd be Rodgers. But if I have to, you put me in a simulation, I'm living there day to day, every day, man, I bet it's probably kind of annoying to be Rodgers. All the crap he says. Just give me Eli.
Okay, so if I switch it to just on the field, would that change your...
Aaron. Yeah, Aaron,
okay.
100%.
Okay. All right, Anthony, with another question. Who are you picking between Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees?
Double down, give me Aaron Rodgers.
Man, Drew Brees is so well respected. But if we're doing on the field again, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers.
I'd agree with you about that. Aaron Rodgers on the field, you would definitely take.
Like,
Because I've had my conversations about Eli Manning where if his last name wasn't Manning, like how would he really be received? Outside of those 2 Super Bowl years, Eli Manning was having not one of the worst, but like one of the more inconsistent careers you would ever see. Like he'll lead the league in interceptions one year, then he'll basically do it again the next year. The team is like third or fourth in the division all the time, and then one year they just pop, make the playoffs, have a crazy good defense, make a run, win a Super Bowl. Then they kind of go back to third or fourth in the division. Oh, here goes another great year with another great defense. They win it. And it's like, that's all his career has been. If he didn't make the playoffs, they were almost always going to be last in the division. But when they made the playoffs, that
He
defense
won a
was just
Super
going
Bowl.
to hound people. Yeah, they're just going to win a Super Bowl because that defense is just going to hound opponents. And yes, Manning had one basically key throw in each of those Super Bowl games. You know, the helmet catch and the Manningham throw, which the Manningham throw, like that's a legit throw right there. The helmet catch, you whatever, that's a gimmicky one. But I don't. The tough part is Aaron Rodgers to me has fallen short of the expectations that him being called the bad man. People saying he's the greatest talent they've seen at the quarterback position, but only one Super Bowl and one appearance doesn't seem like it's fulfilling enough for all of that. Like Eli Manning was kind of like, it's Peyton's brother. He doesn't have the greatest arm. He's kind of goofy, and he somehow managed to get 2 titles out of it. That's all I'll say. I still take Rodgers on the field, but I think the fact that it's a conversation probably says more about Rodgers not living up to all the accolades.
It's not. If we're talking on the field, it's not a conversation. It shouldn't be a conversation. They're not even the same stratosphere of a conversation.
Well, I think it's just a conversation because Eli has more rings while Rodgers is clearly the better talent. And I guess that's why the conversation was brought up.
And that's, to me, that's just shows why we should be like exploring context more than anything in all reality, right? Because you're right, he definitely should have more than one ring. But once again, like his against the Buccaneers and 49ers, that was just an absolute letdown on the part of Aaron Rodgers. Absolutely, but before that, like those mid-2010s Packers teams' defenses were terrible. And the one year where we almost did it, Aaron Rodgers didn't see the ball for the last 10 minutes of the game. We let the Seahawks march down the field, recover the onside kick. Thanks, Brandon Bostic. Score again, get the ball in overtime, and then score again to end the game. So
it's okay, Brett. We didn't run the ball, so trust me.
To me, context matters so much in these discussions that gets overlooked that it just doesn't make any sense, right? Does Rodgers have some blame, obviously, for not making the Super Bowl? Obviously. He does have some. I'm not saying he's absolved of all blame for not winning more Super Bowls, but I'm just saying they want to put it all on him, and that's just not true. If you watch those games, you'll realize real quick, like watching Ladarius Gunther cover Julio Jones for 48 minutes was an absolute war crime on our part, and we gave up 42 points. There really isn't a quarterback that's going to win if the defense is hemorrhaging 30, 40 points a game.
And even, like, to your point, those, like, 49ers games, like, they were just running that ball like crazy. Like, stuff we've never seen in, like, playoffs.
And, like,
that Aaron Rodgers ain't playing middle linebacker.
I'm going to loop this into defend another quarterback that I think it's disrespected. He's mentioned right there. Drew Brees, I hear this too. He only has one ring. It's not his fault that he had to work with the 32nd ranked defense every year, and Rob Ryan apparently ate the rest of the coordinator contestants because they didn't bring in anybody else, and this man couldn't call a defense to save his life. So to me, my point is, we can talk about rings all we want, but please, like, context does matter in these scenarios.
I also do think that Drew Brees with the one ring, I don't know if he gets dragged as much as Rodgers does, because like I said, Drew Brees is almost seen as like a success story. So he was so small. He had the shoulder injury that a lot of people didn't think he was going to ever play from. And the fact that he extended his career for years after that and played at a high level, I feel like he's seen on a different level than Aaron Rodgers, where Aaron Rodgers is, the great talent, had some pretty good teams in Green Bay, had a division that wasn't necessarily great all of his years, and he only got to one. And I feel like you're just wondering, like, what went wrong? How come he didn't at least get to more than one? Whereas Breeze, he gets the one in New Orleans, and everybody's like, yeah, Drew Brees is pretty good just to get that one in New Orleans.
Just because they're consistent, you know. No, they don't make noise is why. I mean, like the only reason Rodgers gets all of this stuff to himself is because he makes noise. He's a media person, so when he doesn't succeed, the media is going to hit him harder. As more so when you look at Drew Brees and Eli Manning, those guys don't make waves. Those guys are doing their own different things, you do community stuff, whatever, just staying home, being quiet, being family man. And so they're not out there making noise. So when they win something, it's like, oh yeah, like congrats, like, you know. But when Aaron Rodgers doesn't live up to those expectations, it's like, oh, like you're this outspoken person, you're this media type of guy, you know, why aren't you living up to those expectations?
Good point. So there was a follow-up to this where looking at the Aaron Rodgers aspect of it. If Aaron Rodgers takes the Jets to a Super Bowl versus like takes them there and wins it, what does that do for Aaron Rodgers' like career profile? Does he cement himself? Like, because Mo said he's not a top 5 all time. So if he gets to a second one, would he be top 5? If he wins a second one, is he definitely a top 5 quarterback? So what would a second Super Bowl do for Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, I could see him entering the top 5 conversation at that point. Depends on who you have in it. And I think Aaron Rodgers right now, with all of his accolades and everything that he has, could very well be your 5th best quarterback in all time, and I wouldn't bat an eye out of it. And I know this sounds homerish because I'm a Packer fan. But just in all reality, when you're put up the numbers and the production like Aaron Rodgers had, you deserve at least some mention in that conversation. Even if you don't think he is, that's fine. I'm completely cool with that. But I think a second one, as long as it's not like a Peyton Manning wins his second Super Bowl style ring where he's absolutely married, yeah, I very well could see that cementing him in a lot of people's minds in that top 5.
Yeah, I even think in making it's a big accomplishment, especially given all like kind of the heat the Jets have, given, you know, the construction of the team, regardless, given how he played his first, 10 minutes with the Jets last season before getting injured. I mean, just coming back from an Achilles tear, taking this Jets team, would be your first full season playing with them and taking them to a Super Bowl. I mean, like Brett said, he already has the accolades, the stats. Like if he's not there, he's teetering at that point. And just to take the team to a Super Bowl would be a lot, especially given that all that's happened. So I would agree. I'd put him out there.
Especially taking that boat anchor known as Nathaniel Hackett to a Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator. That man is terrible. Don't let anyone. Do not sell all of your Nathaniel Hackett stock if you have any, by the way. That man is truly awful.
Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers said, trust him. Don't worry about Hackett. Trust him. We'll see what that gets them. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Anthony said 1 ring. Rodgers is the first ballot Hall of Famer over Eli. I will say that Manning last name is going to work in Eli's favor big time.
It will. People, the argument will always be if he deserves it or not, but Eli Manning will be a Hall of Famer. There's just without a doubt, he will be a Hall of Famer.
Mo says winning a Super Bowl with the Jets would be like winning 2, which, I mean, it's the New York market, it's the Jets. So, yeah, it definitely would do a lot for Aaron Rodgers' resume. I can agree with that for sure. All right. So we kind of had our fill of NFL. Now we got to talk about these playoffs. We're finally to the finals. We're only 2 days out from, as I say, the Al Horford quest for his ring, because that guy just needs it. All right. I can already see it. Al Horford dropping like 30 in a clinching game, winning finals MVP, get on the microphone, drop it, and be like, I'm out, and just walk off. Epic way to end his career. But all right, looking at the paths these two teams have kind of gone through with the Mavs and the Celtics. You know, the Mavericks, they beat those Clippers in the first round. You have the Clippers with the three-headed monster. The Mavs take care of them. move on to the second round where they take care of the Thunder, who, first time at the top of the West. It was a good series for Luka and Kyrie. Of course, they take out the top seed. Then Western Conference Finals, we saw what happened there with Minnesota. They took down Anthony Edwards Jordan and Cat, who thought he was Ray Allen, and Rudy Gobert. And those guys in Minnesota, they take them down to make the finals once again. It's been a while since the Mavs have been back there, but they're back with Jason Kidd at the helm as well. For the Celtics, I know you all heard such an easy path. They got to avoid that world beater Jimmy Butler with Miami in the first round. Then Donovan Mitchell played half the series in Cleveland. They get by them. Eastern Conference Finals, they sweep the Pacers, who were missing Halliburton for the last couple of games. Although the Pacers, to all their credit, for a sweep, they did about as much as they could to win that series, only to lose 3 of the games late in the game. So Celtics 1 seed in the East, Mavs 5 seed in the West. I feel it's a simple question. Well, I guess a 3-part question. Who do you have winning it? I guess how many games? Who's your finals MVP? And for your winning team, who will be the biggest X factor?
Okay, so I'll start. I have the Celtics winning. That's who I've had to start from this whole playoffs was the Celtics winning. I think I'll have the Celtics winning. Man, it's hard to say 6 or 7, but I just want to hope for the best, so I'm going to go 7. Celtics in 7. I think Jason Tatum will be the finals MVP, and I think whoever will be the biggest X factor or whatever you want to call it is who's covering Kyrie. Because Luka's going to do whatever he's going to do. You can't let Kyrie follow his footsteps and also drop the same amount. But the good thing with the Celtics, what we've seen from the Mavericks, they can make those runs. That's what they did to Minnesota, and it hurt them. And that Pacers series for the Celtics was very crucial because those late runs to come back into the game and to finish the sweep. Like the Celtics, I like everything that the Celtics have around them. I think they're just more well-rounded. I think this is the year they get it done.
All right, so you have the Celtics in 7, you have Tatum MVP, and Kyrie's defender as the X factor. Yep. So who do you think takes that assignment?
That's tough. I don't know. You think it'd be Drew?
I think I think they might start Derek White on him, honestly.
I think Derek White.
I was about to say Drew would be on Luka.
Yeah.
Brown would have whoever.
All right. So right before you go, Anthony chimes in with Boston in 6, Tatum MVP, X Factor, Drew Holiday. All right. Brett, who you got?
Okay, so I actually do want the Dallas Mavericks to win. I'm sorry, Kyle, but they are my second team.
It's all good.
I think it's going to be the Boston Celtics. I think they'll win it in 7. I think the MVP is Jason Tatum, and I think the X factor, I'm not even going to pick a player because I think there's a concept that's more important than a player for the Boston Celtics. The X factor will be screen navigation. Can White, Holiday, Brown, and Tatum get around screens? Because you know for a fact you can't let Luka play 2-on-1 with your bigs, and you can't let Luka and Kyrie get 1-on-1s with Horford and Porzingis. So I think the X factor is screen navigation. How well will the Celtics guards navigate screens? Because you know they're coming. You just got to be ready for them. I'll flip around real quick too. I think the Mavericks. Obviously, I think if the Mavericks win, your Finals MVP will be Luka Doncic, and your X factor for the Dallas Mavericks. And I'm only doing this because I feel like Kyle's going to say the Celtics here, pretty obviously. But your X factor, the third guy. Who's going to be the third guy to step up? Because the Celtics are going to blitz Kyrie. They're going to blitz Luka. Can Derek Jones step up again? Can PJ Washington do his thing? Like that's going to be
Hardaway season.
It's never Tim Hardaway season.
Let's see. Mo, Boston in 7, X Factor combo of White and Holiday. The key, both Holiday and White have to attack on offense. Okay. All right. So to be honest with you, Mo kind of is along the lines of where I'm going with it. I have Celtics in 6. I do think the X factor is that backcourt of White and Holiday because all this talk of Luka and Kyrie playing so much better defensively, I feel like we need to pump the brakes on that a little bit. I do think Minnesota at times bailed those two out. I will say the effort is there for them. Absolutely. I saw Kyrie getting up on guys. Luka definitely looks like he's paying more attention defensively. I do think if you were to switch Holiday onto a Kyrie, we'll probably see a lot of Holiday in the post on Kyrie. I think he could do work there. I feel like if you put Derek White on the perimeter against a Luka, I'm expecting Derek White to penetrate, get into the lane, get to his floater, or kicking it out. So I agree with Mo that the backcourt for the Celtics is the X factor. My MVP has got to be Tatum because I just need the narratives to stop. And the only way they stop is if they win it and he wins Finals MVP. I've seen a lot of people like, well, Celtics just win it. That's going to end the talk. It won't, because if Jaylen Brown wins MVP, which I would not be mad about because Jaylen Brown has been disrespected a lot as well, but they'll just say, well, he wasn't even the best player on the team, so they're going to give him all this money. I'm just like, I might have to punch a TV at that point. So I just want Tatum to win MVP just so they can just be quiet with it all.
Man, I had a lot of
Yeah,
people, though, after that Eastern Conference final being like, why Jaylen Brown win it? And it's like, didn't you realize that dude just had a game-winning block, like, shot, and so many things throughout this whole series? People, I don't get it.
I'll say they'll say Tatum got carried by Brown while still putting Jaylen Brown in the trade machine.
Yep.
Exactly. And then they'll be like, all right, they won one. When's the next one going to come? So just get the Finals MVP and let's see what they have to say after that.
Where's the dynasty?
It's funny.
Right.
Everybody's saying, who's guarding Luka, Derek White, or Drew Holiday? I think it should be Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown should be the primary assignment on Luka, because the issue with Drew Holiday is he's strong enough, for Luka. You can keep him from backing him down, but he's also too short where Luka can shoot right over the top of him. And I think Derek White has that same issue where Derek White can do good work against Luka, but he's a little too small. Luka's just going to shoot right over the top. So I think this is going to be a situation where it's going to have to be one of the Jays pick up Luka. And I think it's going to be Jaylen Brown by the consensus of, and I don't know if you agree with this, Kyle, but I think Jaylen Brown is the worst off-ball defender on that team. He's much better on ball than he is off. So I think you put Jaylen Brown, give him the assignment against Luka, and you have all of your best off-ball defenders, ready to swarm as soon as Luka tries something.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. Because I do think Jaylen Brown off the ball can sometimes lose focus and kind of lose track of where his man is. I will say the kind of character switch that I've seen in Jaylen Brown, I'm loving. This is the guy that's like come across as like no nonsense. I feel like he's going to go into this series and probably, like you said, Brett, he's probably going to tell Joe Mazzulla, like, I got Luka, and I'm going to try to shut him down as best as anybody has tried to so far in these playoffs. And I do think, like, White's going to be on Kyrie, so that would probably leave Tatum to guard, I don't know, Jones Jr. or something to make sure, he doesn't kill you on the offensive boards or those, like, moves he makes to the basket where he likes to cut in when everybody's paying attention to Luka. That's what you have to watch out for as well. But I think that's a great point by you. Jaylen Brown will probably take the Luka assignment. I think that would probably be smart for Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics. All right, so we talked about who we have winning it. And Brett, you kind of went through this about the Mavs, who you saw as the next factor for them and everything like that. So going to you, Dylan, if the Mavericks are to win the series, how are they going to do it? What's going to have to happen for them to pull the upset, I would say, since you have the Celtics winning it?
Find out how you're going to match up defensively, and stick with find that good game plan, because I think what I've mentioned with the Celtics is they're so good everywhere. There's just every little thing that they do. They play good off screens, can shoot well. My thing is you just need to find a solid lineup. You can't keep mixing it around, especially in these finals, to find a right combination of how you like it. Like Brett mentioned earlier, who's going to step up? Who are going to be these different guys who are going to step up? Because Tatum's probably going to get his, but we don't need to have a Drew Holiday game. We don't need to maybe even have a Jaylen Brown game, a Derek White game, because those are going to be tough to try to come back with. And then if you get a lead, keep your foot on the pedal, keep your foot on their neck, because like we said, that Pacers series was a good little warm up. They had to fight back, claw back in some of those games, regardless that they were up in the series. They had to fight back, claw back in the game. So the Mavericks are a good team, and they can get on runs. We saw that in that, especially that last game against Minnesota. When they want to go, they'll go. Keep their foot on their neck. You have to, because Boston will come back.
Okay.
I was saying,
yeah, go ahead, Brett.
if I'm the Mavs too, I am spamming. I'm putting Kristaps in every single action, because who knows? Maybe he is rushing back from an Achilles. I'm sure it is okay, but I'm going to test it out.
Mhm.
You haven't played a basketball game in a month. Guess what?
Yeah.
Pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll. And I'm just going to continuously put him in actions and keep testing him to see if he's really in basketball shape.
Yeah, I mean, Porzingis did like meet with the media and say that because they asked him like, "Are you 100% going to play in game one?" He kind of paused a little bit, then had a smirk and was like, "Yeah." So he feels like he's ready. He's done scrimmages, he's practiced and everything. But like you said, there's only so much a scrimmage can do to get you ready for game action. Where now you're defending a team that you may not know necessarily what they're trying to do. You try to make a quick cut. How does your body react to it? How confident are you in you making that cut? Like that's the kind of stuff he's gonna have to work out towards game one, and hopefully make it through the rest of the games in the series. So the Porzingis part of this is definitely going to be interesting to see. I mean, the series has storylines all over the place. You got Kyrie returning back to Boston, where, as a one Boston writer put, he's the biggest villain in Boston, which I feel like that's way overblown, but I get it. He's feeding into the whole final stuff. And you got Porzingis having to go back to Dallas, where wasn't that great when he and Luka played together. So, looking at the two homecomings, who do you think gets worse treatment? It's probably an obvious answer, but
Kyrie.
That's
Yeah,
not
no.
gross. It's like,
Look, Kristaps didn't stomp on the Dallas Maverick logo.
Sure.
yeah. And I find it funny we're treating it as like his first playoff game in
Exactly.
Boston, even though I just watched him get stomped out in Brooklyn 3 years ago. But yeah. It's Kyrie.
Yeah. Okay, last question. Well, maybe last question. Okay, so looking at Kyrie, because he's a guy who's very polarizing. Starts his career with LeBron. We heard LeBron say the other day he wishes he was still Kyrie's running mate. Okay, let's calm down with that, LeBron. But Kyrie basically wanted to get away from LeBron. I think LeBron beat him out of Cleveland, and then Kyrie left shortly after because he realized, I'm stuck with Richard Jefferson and a bunch of old guys. What am I supposed to do? So Kyrie bolts. He wants his own team. He goes to Boston. He was it like 5 minutes into the season? You have the Gordon Hayward thing. Then he gets hurt. They have the playoff series against Milwaukee. He looks like a guy who's not interested at all. Tells fans he wants to be back. Leaves right away to join up with KD in Brooklyn. Then Brooklyn's just a whole disaster because of stuff on the outside. He had his beliefs, which he's free to believe what he wants to believe. He becomes like a part-time player, frustrates James Harden. James Harden gets out, and like you said, he and KD get swept by the Celtics. He's gone from there. He gets to Dallas. A lot of people didn't think he and Luka were going to work because of his thoughts in previous spots, but it seems like he's in a really good place right now. So what would a second ring for Kyrie do for his image?
I mean, I don't think he's at. I mean, he's all just the beliefs thing's always going to rub people the wrong way. I think Kyrie's always just to some is just going to be just soured too. But I think a lot of the actual like NBA people, NBA fans who don't bring, other players' politics
Yeah.
into the game because that's not what we're watching. That's not what we care about. We're watching basketball. I think they all think Kyrie's a good player, that he's one of the greater point guards. I mean, he's really focalized dribbling moves and all of that into like, today basketball, or at least popularized them a lot as well too. Getting another wing would just solidify him a little bit more. I think I mean, outside of the respect I think that he does get, I mean, just another nod for him.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like non-basketball people are the reason there's hate towards Kyrie.
Say strictly on the court, like he's always going to be hated at this point. Dylan's 100%
Yeah.
right. Like this man's just always going to be hated to a degree by some people. Strictly on the court, you can say it solidifies him as like a top 10 point guard of all time. Like I think he solidifies himself in that circle. I mean, I probably sound crazy, but I don't think that enters him in the top 5 range. But I think that solidifies him as a top 10 point guard of all time, and I don't think that's anything to scoff at.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough when you talking about like top 10 at a position, because there's been so many great point guards over the course, guards, however you want to categorize them, over the course of the NBA history. It's like, if you really think about that, you're a top 10 at any position, like that's legit. You're you're like in a group with, Magic and West, who's the logo. You got like Havlicek, guys, Isaiah Thomas, all these guys, and if you're in the top 10 with that group, I mean, that's not disrespectful in any way. So that's pretty high praise. I do agree with you that some fans will never like Kyrie. It is what it is. I feel like you could say the same thing with like KD. There's gonna be fans that will never love KD. It's just the way that certain guys, like, their
I
demeanor.
mean, people hate
is what it
MJ
is.
now. People hate LeBron now. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's always
It comes with the territory of being an athlete. I do think, like I said, the Boston writer who put Kyrie as the number one villain, I do think at this point a lot of Celtics fans have moved on. They just like booing him because it seems like it affects them. So that's going to be the big thing for games 1 and 2. If they boom and Kyrie kind of just plays his game, they may not boom as much in game 2, but they're going to boom just to see if he hasn't really changed. Because, like, if you look at Kyrie interviews and everything, he looks like a different person, some people say like a more mature player. But if he shows up game 1, they boom, and he starts flipping them off again and gets them off his game, they're going to keep it up. So he can control that. But I do agree with you, Brett. Like, it would do a lot for him. Not necessarily NBA circles. I think other NBA players like Kyrie for the most part. Maybe it turns some non-NBA fans to have a little softer approach to him. But, yeah, it definitely would work. I mean, LeBron fans probably wouldn't like it because he'd be like the first LeBron teammate to leave him and get a ring. So take that as you want, LeBron fans. But next question is going to be, let's take a look at the duos. Tatum and Brown, Luka and Kyrie. Who do you think has a better series?
Man, I'm just gonna say Tatum and Brown because they're a little more well-rounded when it talks about the defensive approaches. If we're saying who's gonna have a better series all around, and I think the Celtics are gonna win the series, so I have to attribute that from playing all around. But just thinking like there might be one game where like Luka's gonna drop like a 30-40 point triple double, and Kyrie's gonna have like 40. Like, gosh, it's so hard. That's so hard to not pick against it, but I'm going to go Tatum Brown just because they already have that chemistry. They've been working together for a while. This is their big chance in the finals again. I feel like they're going to really want it this time, or at least they should really want it this time.
I think if you're just looking at a box score, I think statistically speaking, I think Kyrie and Luka will have better numbers.
That's where
But I think once you like watch the film and start factoring in defensively speaking along with numbers, I think it's going to be Tatum and Brown. So I 100% agree with Dylan on this one.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree, but yeah, I'm a Celtics fan, so I kind of have to agree with them. Yeah, I feel like Thursday can't come fast enough because I do think this series is going to be very entertaining. It might be kind of flying under the radar a little bit, only because in terms of the MVPs and everything like that, they're not here. Like Luka's been close, Tatum's been somewhat close, but no MVPs involved in this series. No LeBron, no Steph, no KD. Like this is going to be a good.
It's a next generation finals. That's what it
Yes,
is.
yes, exactly. Because
Outside of
Luka's
Kyrie.
only 24, Tatum's 26. Like this is good environment for the NBA to be like, yeah, some of those older guys are moving on, but look, one of these guys are gonna get their first ring, and that could propel them to who knows what kind of level of superstardom. So, Adam Silver should be kicking back, waiting to see hopefully a 6-7 game series of, if it's like Indiana level, where you're looking at last 2-3 minutes and it's like really like nail biting. I feel like the NBA would win no matter who decides to lift the Larry O'Brien trophy. Obviously, I would like to see my guys in Boston do it, but I'm not a Luka hater. Like I can't hate Luka. So if Luka got his, I would definitely celebrate it and then wait for the next day for them to just completely tell me that Tatum is no better than, I don't know, Ron Mercer. I don't know. Like some random Celtics player. So it is what it is. But I mean, you guys have any final thoughts on this series or anything else you want to bring up about it?
No, if you judge Tatum just based on like media and like what is said about him, you would think he's like the second coming of like Chris Mim. But no, I'm definitely looking forward to this series. It's going to be a lot of fun. And my only hope is that if the Celtics do win this next generation Finals MVP goes to Al Horford, would be the greatest thing ever.
I would be completely down for that.
Game 7, he drops 50 in the game winner at the buzzer.
Yeah.
In triple overtime.
Yeah. Or like a big block and he just yells, he just lets out like a big yell or something. And it's just like, I don't know anybody who could like not like Al Horford at this point. Like the guy's been hanging around because he knows the Celtics team is close. And I feel like the Jays have a different demeanor this time, compared to a couple of years ago against Golden State, where it's like they understand they need to get this one. Not just for them, but for Al Horford. And I think for Joe Mazzulla, too. I feel like Joe Mazzulla would get a lot of credit if they're able to win one. Because there's still like NBA people who feel like, Udoka was done wrong. He should still be coaching this team. And Mazzulla was thrown into a weird situation where it's like the Udoka thing happens not too long before the season. And they're like, hey, Joe, you're now the coach. And he's like, oh, okay. Has a rough first year. I feel like he's had a better second year with Sam Cassell and Charles Lee, although, Lee has the Charlotte job waiting for him. And there's like a rumor that Jeff Van Gundy could join his staff next year, which, I mean, I'll take that. Only because it'll just remind me of him being dragged around by Alonzo Mourning, which is still one of the great highlights that I always kind of go to on YouTube every once in a while. But, yeah, it kicks off on Thursday. So, everybody should be ready for it, and it should be a lot of fun. All right, so those are all the topics we have. Like I said, unless you guys have anything else you want to say about the finals before we get into our fun trivia, which will be a little different tonight.
Oh,
I'm ready.
I'm just looking forward to Thursday.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right. So chat, we always end our episodes with some fun little trivia game. So for this one, we're going to try something new. We're doing a fantasy draft. So Brett and Dylan will go back and forth, pick a player, drafting their starting 5 because we're going to keep with the finals theme.
Okay.
So you're drafting a fantasy lineup based off of points per game scoring in a finals run, so a finals series.
Oh.
So you'll have to give me the player and the year that they were in the finals, and I'll give you their point per game total in those finals, and that'll be your point total for that player, and we'll see who has the higher point per game lineup after you draft your starting 5. So I don't want to tell you this beforehand because you would have researched it and everything. So now you're going in cold. So now you just got to think of finals teams who were really good performers. You got to give me the player and the year. And I will tell you the points per game they had in that series. I may have to look up a couple of them, but we'll make it work. So I guess to decide who goes first, I'm thinking of one or two. Whichever number you pick, you're either going to be right and you go first, or you're wrong and the other person goes first. So who wants to guess the number?
2.
It is 2. Dylan, you will go first.
Fair enough.
So once again, give the player, and obviously if it's just to throw Ron Mercer, he would never play in the finals. If Dylan says Ron Mercer, 1934, Brett, you can't use Ron Mercer any other year. So you only get to use the player once. So go ahead, Dylan.
Man, I'm trying to think of like positions. Man, I might.
I will be writing them down to keep track.
Playoff stats. Let's do shooting guard and what? D-Wade, what was it? 2005?
Okay. So D-Wade. So I'll use, I guess, the 2000. So you want 2005, 2006?
Yeah, that was that finals,
the
right?
2005 season, yeah, it would be the 2006 finals, technically. All right, so D-Wade he averaged 34.7 a game in those finals. So that's a pretty good start. So
You said 30.7 or 34.7?
34.7.
Okay, gotcha.
So we got D-Wade off the table, 34.7. That's a pretty good start. All right, Brett, where do you want to go with this?
Whew. All right, this is man, this is really tough. I can just use any finals.
Yeah, just give me the year.
Oh boy, this is where it gets really tough. I'll go. I'll start out. You know what? I'll start out with my center. I'll go Shaq in the 2000s.
Oh, that was the one I was gonna go next.
If you wanted to pick a big man, that would be the best year. Shaq in the 2000 finals had 38 points per game.
That was going to be my first pick, but I was like, I don't know. Maybe I should try to before maybe he gets it on me, but I don't know.
So Shaq, 38. All right, Dylan, back to you.
Trying to think of what year the finals they went to, but my power forward's going to be Tim Duncan. Trying to think of what year they went to the finals, though. Not the first time.
03?
Yeah, the 99. No, the 03. The 03.
Okay, so that one I will have to look up because he was not on this list. Doesn't mean he'd have a great series. So you have Tim Duncan which year?
03.
Okay. 03 finals. It's going to be interesting. Let's see. All right, 2003 NBA finals. Okay. Where's the stats here? Yeah, show playoff series. Okay. Why is this? This should not be this difficult. Spurs. Here we go. So that series went 6 games, and Tim Duncan averaged 24.2 points.
I'll take it.
That's not bad.
All
right, Brett.
I'll go power forward too. I'm gonna go a little homer here. I'm gonna go 2021 Giannis Antetokounmpo. He had that 50 piece, so I think that must have boosted a little bit.
Giannis in 2021. That's a great pull there. Giannis averaged 35.2 points a game. Okay. So Dylan, you need a point guard, small forward, and a center.
Okay. Trying to think. What year? Let's go. Man, I don't know. Let's go 2017 Curry. That was the year they won. The last one they won, right? Sorry, Kyle.
2022 then, right?
Yeah, that was
That was
2022.
My bad. Oh, damn. Far off. I felt like that final feels like it's forever ago.
Wait, no. 2022, really? Yeah, that was 2022.
Yeah, the 21, 22.
Yeah, it does seem like it was far. Yeah, it does
Oh,
seem like it was
21.
far away.
That feels like it's not way longer ago than that. That's wild.
All right, so 20.
I feel like we've seen the Nucks Bucks.
Okay, this one I'll have to look up as well. Season there. Okay. Okay, the finals, where is it? Playoff series. Oh, it'd be 2021, 2022. Sorry.
Yeah.
I went 2022, 2023. That was the Heat Nuggets. All right, so that series, we got the Warriors over my Celtics. Seemed like Dylan might have taken a little shot there. It's all good.
Hey, man, it was an accident.
It's all good. All right, Warriors. So Steph Curry, that series went 6. He averaged 31.2.
31 points? Okay. Take it.
31.2. All right, Brett. I mean, you need your backcourt and small forward.
Oh, this is tough. I'll go shooting guard. I'm trying to think of. I'll go 2009 Kobe Bryant against the Orlando Magic.
09 Kobe averaged 32.4.
Okay.
All right. Back to you, Dylan. Small forward and a center.
Man, center is going to be rough on me. For small forward, I gotta think. Let's do Larry Bird.
Okay.
Trying to think. I know they went 7 with the Lakers one time. 83? I think it's 83. I know they went one series 7, and then another series they went 6. But I'm hoping the 7 one Bird averaged more, because I think that one he won Finals MVP as well. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Okay. Let's see.
My dad's a big Larry Bird guy, so I should know.
I mean, usually isn't that a bad thing to go with Larry Bird? All right, so let's see here. Let's look at 83, 84. I believe that's the one. Let's see. All right, this game of the NBA Finals. Let's see. Got to search on this page. All right. Playoff summary. Here we go. All right. So that year, yes, the Celtics won in 7 games over the Lakers.
Okay.
So, how did Larry Bird do? He averaged 27.4 a game.
Not bad.
Yeah. All right, Brett. Point guard and a small forward.
Let's see. Point guard. Give me 80 or 81. But the answer for me is Magic Johnson. I believe in 1981 when he won Finals MVP as a rookie.
Okay.
No, 79, 80. It might have been 80.
I think it was 81. I think you're right on 81. Oh, no,
mm,
I think you're right. No, I'm trying to confuse.
I'm just like confusing
well,
myself in 2 years.
No, I
it
think
was
it
the
was 80. I think it was 80, 79,
81
80.
82. 81 82, the Lakers won the championship. 80, the Celtics won it.
Yeah, that's right. Cedric Maxwell Finals MVP, I think.
Yeah, 80
But what about the
81.
one before that? Was that not the Magic year?
They
Oh,
79,
good
80?
point. Yes, 80 was the Lakers as well. So
79-80, I believe that was the Magic MVP year.
all right. So that year they went 6 games and Magic averaged 21 and a half.
Okay.
All right,
Remember-
Dylan, you've been dreading this position. You need a center.
Man, I'm a stick. I'm talking about old school Lakers. I forgot Kareem was a person. I'm gonna go Kareem, 1984.
All right, Kareem in 84. Okay, I thought it might be on the list. All right, that should be easy to find because it's right here. 84.
I just remembered Magic had that 46 piece. I was like, he must have averaged quite a bit for that series.
So Kareem in 84 averaged 26.6 a game.
Okay.
Say, for my small forward, I'm gonna go 2017 Finals MVP Kevin Durant.
27.
That's
Okay,
where I was thinking about going before Larry Bird, but I didn't.
so KD in that series averaged 35.2.
Yeah.
Okay, those are 2 very good lineups. You put them in NBA 2K, you probably have a lot of fun with it. So I will tell you the total here.
I think Brett got it. I think Shaq helped it.
The Shaq pull definitely helped, yes.
I should have went Shaq as my first pick. I should have.
I had a counter to Shaq, and I don't know how well this would have went. I don't know what the exact number was, but my counter to Shaq was going to be 1962 Wilt Chamberlain because I thought you were going to go Shaq 1, so I was ready to bust out Wilt.
Fair enough.
Let me see. He might be on this list here. Wilt. Where is he? Oh, he's actually not on the first page. So I'll look that up in here in a second. I'm actually surprised nobody went with Jordan because Jordan did have the best in the 93 finals. He averaged 41 a game. That's the best.
It was probably too hard to pick which one. Just to
that's
like,
true,
which one was the best.
Because you went 93, 41. You went 92. You would have gotten 35.8. 97, 98 was 33 and a half. 96, 97, 32.3. Also, I mean, for centers, you had so Dylan, you had Kareem in 84.
Mm-hmm.
Kareem's best season was 79-80 when he averaged 33.4.
I know what the one I picked. I think that's the year he won Finals MVP, so I just kind of went with it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see other notables. Rick Barry in 1967 averaged 40.8. Elgin Baylor in 62, 40.6. The Logo in 69 averaged 37.9.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of 60s guys.
Yeah. Well, 2015, LeBron averaged 35.8. He had AI 35.6 and 01.
I forgot about that 76ers team with AI going that one year. He would have been a really good pick.
Mm-hmm.
He carried the team.
Yeah. The Dream, 95, 32.8.
He was who I was thinking about for center, but I wasn't sure.
And, I mean, George Mikan in 1950 averaged 32.2, but I don't know who's going to pull George Mikan out. All right, so Dylan's total was 144.1 points. All right, so Brett, you got that. see how close the matchup was. And Brett 162.3. That's like 80s basketball right there. 162, 144.
Yeah.
All right.
That was
Yeah,
fun. I
but-
like that.
No, that was a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed that. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it more. I mean, we'll have NFL we can pull from for it. I can definitely come up with some more NBA categories. So, yeah, I mean that's all we had. I forgot I kind of left this up there while we were doing it. I would have taken this down since we weren't talking about that. But it was a finals theme, so I guess leaving it up there wasn't too bad. But yeah, that's all the topics that we have. I mean, right around an hour and a half, so we'll leave some time for what was I going to talk about? Caitlin Clark. We can end with a little Caitlin Clark talk because I don't have a graphic for it. I'm not going to pull one up, but you guys know what's going on with Caitlin Clark. You know, a lot of people are talking about her treatment from not only Kennedy Carter, you know, Dejanay Carrington was basically in her hip pocket all game against the Sun. The results haven't been there, but if you look at the Fever, they played some really tough teams. They played the Aces a couple of times. They played the Liberty, the Sun. They literally played the top tier teams in the WNBA. But now it's kind of getting to a point where you have like your hardcore WNBA fans are like battling kind of like the new, if you want to say casual fans that are been brought in because of Caitlin Clark, following her from Iowa now to Indiana, where now it's like all of the guys who maybe didn't talk a lot of WNBA, they only focus on Caitlin Clark. Your hardcore WNBA fans are like, yeah, Caitlin Clark's good and everything, but like this is a league where you have Asia Wilson, you have Brianna Stewart, you have Alyssa Thomas, like Kelsey Plum, you know, a lot of great players. So looking at the way Caitlin Clark is being covered, as opposed to the other great names, like I said, do you think it's a problem the WNBA has where it's, like I said, well and good that you have new eyeballs because of her, but should they also be highlighting the other great players in the league? Or just take it for what it is, enjoy the popularity no matter how you get it?
A little bit of both. I mean, you should always do good at promoting your other stars. That's why you have them. It's just not one person that makes the league. It's multiple on different things. You should always promote your stars. But I think what the WNBA is just going through right now is just classic, you know, just fans, just people who don't care about the sports, you know, not hardcore as casuals. I mean, they're getting their first wave of that. I mean, no offense to the WNBA, but like this is their first season with the most hype or anything of the sorts, and it's because of these rookies, it's because of these players. Yeah, there's going to be tons of casuals about it. The WNBA has been promoting their other stars for years. Should they now, since they have more popularity, kind of turn that a little more into gear and do that a little bit more since the eyes are watching? Yes, of course. So take every marketing opportunity you can get. But with that being said, only thing the WNBA is going through right now is just the wave of casuals. I mean, this is the most hype it's ever been. Yeah, it's going to be like this. I mean, you look at it from an NBA, any sports perspective, there's casuals talking about nothing they know about, exclaiming that they do, or they only watch for these specific reasons. And it's just like, it's what it's like in every sport. This is just the WNBA experiencing it now that they're getting popular. They're being more popularized, you know, on ESPN almost every week, almost every day, whenever there's a game playing. Yeah. They're just getting the wave of just media, bad sports media. We all have seen it, and we're all going to experience it. It's not going to go away. How the WNBA responds, I mean, I feel like they're doing fine. Just keep up with the popularity. Don't let it consume you, I guess. Don't let all that stuff consume you. This is your chance. This is your chance to make it bigger. I mean, you have the eyes on it. Show the world your stars then.
And, you know, just to piggyback, because Dylan's 100% correct. Like, I don't understand why people are so upset with the casual fans flowing in just following Caitlin Clark, because this is another way to get new eyes and develop hardcore fans, right? They got to start somewhere. So, Okay, maybe you just know Caitlin Clark. You watch the Aces. Oh, who's that one? Who's that? Who's that talent? Who's that girl? Oh, that's Asia Wilson. Very good. You know, let's watch some more of her. And then it starts piggybacking. Oh, who is that? Oh, well, and so on, right? Oh, that's Brianna Stewart. Oh, she's really good. Maybe I'll watch more Liberty. And you know, you kind of slowly build up your hardcore fans. It's not like people just joined in the sport being a hardcore fan right away. You have to build that up over time. So I don't understand why some of these hardcore fans are so upset with people coming in just following one player. Cool, guess what? Welcome them in. Hey, if you like Clay and Caitlin Clark, maybe you like, you know, and start
Yeah.
suggesting different players for them to watch. Like, I don't get the hate because to me, this is a prime opportunity to truly expand the game. And instead, we're beefing with new fans that eventually it might turn them off to wanting to follow the game.
Okay. And yeah,
You brought you
like, you're gonna make new fans anyway, so you kind of take the opportunity, like you guys said. But yeah, go ahead, Dylan, because I do have a follow
Oh
up
no,
question.
I was gonna say, and Brett's just had just a really good point. I mean, they have to start somewhere. They have to start somewhere. I mean, I'm sorry, probably a lot of us, no matter what sport we watched or became fans of first, it was because these big names. It was those big names that you saw on the TV, and you're like, man, I want to see that dude play. Oh, they're playing so and so team. What's going on with this team? Or like, oh, this dude on this other team did a big play. What's he all about? And we all got to start somewhere. I mean, that's how we became favorites of our favorite players, sports, teams. We started somewhere and we built our knowledge off of that and built our sports knowledge and our own identities off of those things. I mean, I don't get why you should bash someone just because, hey, this new school rookie who, you know, is bringing a lot of eyes to the league is your favorite player. Don't bash him for it. Welcome him in. Just be like, oh, okay. And even if that's not your type of thing, whatever, leave him be. There's still new fans coming in. Just bashing him is only going to do nothing but make the sport worse. All you're doing is creating toxicity in it.
I mean, that's kind of
That's sports,
a
but I mean,
byproduct of sports. Yeah, you get a lot. You'll get toxic fans. Yeah, I understand that. So now the follow up is because of the Caitlin Clark centric coverage and what we're seeing other players responding to it. Do you think there's jealousy amongst other players,
oh,
or is it a situation where they might be frustrated at the fact that all the coverage is going towards her and not towards other great players that have been around for a couple of years, kind of creating this little bit of a wave that the WNBA had. Like they've been building slowly. It's only that now Caitlin Clark's come in, it's taking like a large leap forward. So do
I
you think
mean,
it's jealousy or do you think it's frustration on a lot of these other players? Or do you think that's kind of one and the same?
yeah, it's a bit of both. It's one and the same for me because I mean, you think about it, like you said, the WNBA has been slowly building up, building up. It's like they've been putting up like the foundation just for like all this heavy machinery to come in and build the whole entire house for you. And it doesn't seem fair to them. I mean, they were here, they were going through all the backlash, you know, all the different things, you know, the less media coverage is basically having to struggle to play the sport that they love. And
Mhm.
now that, you know, one person or a couple different people with these rookies are like making the sport boosted and bolstered, and you know they're not kind of getting that attention or at least the praise for being setting down the groundwork, being, you know, the kind of pioneers for the sport that it was, because it wasn't really a big thing as of till this season. Yeah, there's going to be some upsetness. Yeah, I mean, when your name's not being mentioned as some of these big stars or these big players, when you have been that star or that player for this time, and it's just because you're not one of these rookies this year, you're going to be upset about it. But I think you should take it in stride because this is where you should make your mark. This is where, you know, these are your opportunities. This is your chance to show all these new people who you are. I mean, you could be upset about it or you could take the opportunity and build off of it. And yeah, it's going to be upsetting. You know, you didn't get all that spotlight that you maybe thought you should have deserved in the first place or earned or worked for. But that's the sport for you. You know how many rookies were probably upset that Victor Wembanyama was in that last year's draft? So many, because he was the talked about focal point. But you see what other guys did? Someone like Brandon Miller just went down and worked. These different guys, you just it's gotta work. That's what it is. You gotta take those
Right.
opportunities.
Yeah,
And I think only
Yeah.
be getting sad and jealous just does nothing about it.
Yeah, I agree with Dylan 100% on that one. At the end of the day, like, yeah, Caitlin Clark has the spotlight on her right now. Well, guess what? When the Indiana Fever come to town, make your own spotlight. Take some of it. Show the
Hmm.
world what you got. When ESPN comes rolling in, show the world what you got. Like, you have a prime opportunity to make something out of this, like to really put yourself on the map. Like, there are some really talented ladies in this league that deserve to be put on the map, but me saying they should be on the map isn't going to put them on the map. It's irrelevant if I think somebody's talented at the end of the day. It's up to
Mhm.
them to put themselves in a position where they're talked about. And I think
Like,
that, I think they're going to do that. But at the end of the day, like, them, being jealous about it, they ain't going to do nothing, like, at the end of the day.
you go on ESPN, you drop 40 points on Caitlin Clark. You'll make a name. You'll
Yeah.
make your name. That will be talked about.
Yeah.
Rather than pushing her. But yeah,
Right. Yeah.
getting a flake of
I
more.
mean, look, part of it is, look, the WNBA knew Caitlin Clark was coming in, and they are putting her on as many televised games as they can. Maybe that's created some resentment from players, but from the league's point of view, you understand it. They're trying to create their own thing. They're trying to get a TV deal, which I know that there's like the rumored deal with the NBA with, was it NBC, ESPN, and Amazon, that WNBA is supposed to be worked into that, where like WNBA becomes like an Amazon Prime product as well as ESPN, which I feel like, yeah, it would still be ESPN, but I think like Amazon Prime will do like a studio show and cover some games as well. And
That's
I feel like
cool.
for them, that you will know where to find them. Oh, ESPN's covering it this night. Oh yeah, Amazon Prime's got it on this night. They got their studio show and everything. I feel that would be perfect for them. Of course, whenever that does get announced, hopefully soon, because not gonna lie, NBA on NBC was my childhood. With that song that would play at the start of the broadcast, like that's when you knew it was time to watch basketball, which would come back. That's a quick side note there. But I feel like that maybe the WNBA maybe overplayed their hand a little bit, because a lot of these televised games we're seeing the Fever getting destroyed. I mean, they just lost by like 40 to the Liberty, but then again, Liberty are a pretty legit team. And, like you said, Brett, making a name for yourself, like Dejanay Carrington, from her game that she had on Caitlin Clark where she frustrated her, I feel like that did a lot for her. But I do think the other side of it is, like, if I told you the Connecticut Sun were undefeated, like, would you know?
Mm-mm.
To some fans, they may not know, Bill, because they haven't heard that. So I do think that, you can still be Caitlin Clark centric with your coverage, but at least mix it up a little bit. And I feel like
that's a good point.
That's probably the best.
The game that Caitlin Clark struggled, it didn't say who was covering her or anything like that. It just says Caitlin Clark struggled 1 for 10 from the 3-point line. That's all it said.
But at the end of the day, too, the NBA did the same thing this year, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think I watched way too many San Antonio Spurs games just because of Wemby.
Yeah.
Even though they were terrible and half of them they're getting blown out, like, it was not a great watch. But at the end of the day, they're going to put who everybody wants to see. Everybody was curious how this young kid Wemby was going to translate to the NBA. So they got a lot more televised games than they quite frankly should have, and we're seeing the same thing in the WNBA. Are the Fever good? No, they got issues. I think they're, coaching's an issue, defense is an issue. Like, they got issues all over the place, but that doesn't matter because people want to see how Caitlin Clark's going to translate to the WNBA, and that's going to drive viewers and revenue. So, quite frankly, it's exactly what they should do. If this is what the people want to see, like your casual fans, because at the end of the day, that's going to make up most of your audience. There's a certain section of hardcore, but if you can draw those casual fans, if that's what they want to see, give it to them.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, just wanted to touch on Caitlin Clark because it seems like everybody else is at this point, so why not do it here on the ball? But there is another. This will be the last topic for sure. The Bronny James stuff. I have been fascinated with a lot of the news and the rumors surrounding Bronny James. Because look, he started at USC, has the heart condition. He comes back from that, plays after that, which you got to commend him for that. Doesn't have a great year, averages like 4.5 points, declares for the draft, goes to the combine as like the 96th rated prospect or something. In 3 days, he elevates his stock to 54th, decides to stay in the draft instead of going back to college. But it seems like since that's happened, it's been one crazy rumor after another. First rumor being he won't sign a two-way deal, so it's only going to be one way. You draft him, he's got to be on your NBA roster. Then he's only going to work out for the Lakers and the Suns, which, take that for whatever you want. You have the whole LeBron possible free agency, which, like, let's be real, he's going to end up back in LA, all things considered. And are we just setting up the fact that Bronny's just going to get drafted by the Lakers, and that's kind of where this story ends up going? I don't see how it ends up any other way. But the first question is, do you think it's a bad thing if he doesn't do a two-way deal? Because he's clearly a kid who needs playing time to develop. And if you can't send him to the was it G League still, or is it some other D League? It was the D League before G League, now Gatorade or whatever, where he could play more often. Could that hurt his development?
No, because he still needs development, period. I mean, it's not like if he gets drafted by the Lakers, they're going to give him, 13 minutes a night. They're going to be lucky if he gets like 5 or 6. I mean, that's what I just don't. This is what gets me. It's like, man, maybe him declaring for the draft, I didn't care about. A lot of young guys do it. Great seasons or not. Whatever. Had a good, solid combine. Gives you some hope. But it's just like, I don't know, man. The concept, you're just like, nah, I won't play in the G League. I won't sign a two-way deal. Like, I get marketing-wise. I get that it doesn't look good for the brand. But it's going to suck when you get cut from your roster because you're not good. Like, you got to take these things in stride. Like, I get you have a name. You have the last name. But, this is still a business at the end of the day, and the business moves on, They're not going to just puppy dog you just because you're a bad basketball player and you have LeBron James's last name. And that's kind of what's happening what's kind of happening right now. But if he's not good, teams will move on. I feel like this is a business. If you're really serious about playing basketball, you'll do whatever the team wants you to do to succeed, to help you to succeed. And picking and choosing and saying you're not going to do things, it's kind of annoying.
Right.
I feel like this whole situation is setting him up to fail because the amount of pressure now it's going to put on him.
Mm-hmm.
First thing we got to remember about NBA kids players, half of them aren't very good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does anybody want to tell me their favorite Marcus Jordan highlight or John Stockton Jr. highlight? Or Patrick Ewing's kid played in the NBA, if anybody knew that. At the end of the day, though, but, at the end of the day, we're putting these expectations on him that with every news story and every report that comes out, there's more pressure. And now it almost feels like he has to be good right out of the gate. When in reality, he's just a kid. He still needs some seasoning. He still needs development. Mm-hmm. Like, I still think he could be a good role player, but I don't think he's going to be a superstar of any sorts. But now it feels like he has to be a superstar to really live up to people's expectations. And, part of this is on, it's on LeBron coming out last year saying that he could start over people in the NBA. He's better than some of these guys in the NBA. And part of it's on them for coming out and playing this game of I won't sit in the G League. I won't sign a two-way. At the end of the day, I think his camp isn't really doing him any favors. I don't think the fans are doing him any favors. And the person I feel bad for almost is Bronny, because I feel like at the end of the day, all of this is just putting him in a position to fail. And I hope that's not the case, but it really feels like they're setting him up to fall right on his face.
It honestly seems, I'm not sure if, it honestly seems like he's just making all the decisions himself, really, kind of like what he wants to do. And it just seems weird. But it also, on the flip note, is it that? It's like, is it a ploy to get him into the league the fastest? Whatever it takes type situation. It's weird. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like any smart moves have been made overall throughout this whole process. This whole process, everything that's been said, covered, it's just not smart. It just doesn't seem like, yeah, his play has increased his stock, especially at the combine, but like, I don't know. Nothing about anything has made me like want to draft him. It makes it feel like he's just going to be under a lot of pressure, like Brett said.
It was funny. I saw people putting up the numbers trying to compare him to like first year of college Russell Westbrook because
Yeah.
Russ didn't produce really in his first year. I think he averaged 3 points a game. But at the same time, too, the thing to remember too is a lot of these college athletes, you're looking for traits. You're looking for different things that'll translate. Russ always had like that insane high level athleticism and twitchiness.
Yeah.
And I'm
Mhm.
not sure I really see that off Bronny, but yeah, that comparison needs to die right away too. Let's not compare. For anybody doing it, please stop comparing Bronny to a first year Russell Westbrook because it's not the same situation.
Yeah. And look, Brian's going to have an uphill battle because he was listed at 6'4" at USC, gets the combine. He's magically
6'2".
6'1".
6'1",
Well,
yeah.
But yeah, 6'1", 6'2". He's like 220. I sat there trying to look at like comparisons in terms of players with that body type. I couldn't find any. Like your 6'1", 6'2" guys all weigh like 195. They're
My
basically like Peyton Pritchard, but he's at 220, where it's just like two guards or some small forwards in the league. So I feel like that's going to be interesting to see how he manages to.
If he
I'm
can
sure
get
he'll probably slim
like if
down
he
a
had like
little bit, but
LeBron James explosiveness, that would be
that would
crazy.
be something.
It would be totally crazy. Different story because then he has the weight to go up with that explosiveness, but he doesn't.
I'll say
He's not 6'7".
no. Yeah, speaking of the draft measurements, I feel like, and this, this isn't about Bronny, of course, so viewership probably just tanked, but I don't think anybody got hurt more than the draft measurements than Rob Dillingham, man. They measured him at 6'1", 160 pounds. I was like, there's no way he's that small.
Mm-hmm. And he's still gonna be a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I just saw a mock draft today that actually had him falling out of the top 10.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I think people are starting to be worried about his size getting picked on the defensive end.
Oh well.
Yeah. I mean, look, maybe the whole thing works out for Bronny because look, all the talk is that this is a weak draft. So all it takes is one team to maybe overdraft him. He gets into a situation. I mean, I'm kind of like you, Brett, where I'm like, I feel like for Bronny's sake, he needs to probably go somewhere that LeBron's not attached to, where he can kind of make a name for himself. Because if he ends up in LA with Bron, then the pressure that he had before will just be ratcheted up because, everybody's gonna be looking at. First off, they're gonna get a new coach, which it seems like they're leaning towards
JJ Redick.
Which, if that's who his first coach is gonna be, where everything JJ Redick does, you'll be questioning whether LeBron actually came up with it, and that's what all JJ's doing. Is JJ going to give Bronny minutes over a guy only because of JJ's connection to LeBron? And I feel like that's way too much for him to take on in a rookie season. If he ended up somewhere else, I feel like he'd be better off.
That would be like a speed run record, right, on how to lose the locker room the quickest. Not only if JJ Redick got hired, but started giving Bronny minutes if they draft him over better players.
Be like, hey, Gabe Vincent, sit down.
Yeah, right. It would just be like, oh, man, I think you would lose the locker room after the first game, honestly, because at that point, it'd be pretty clear. Everyone would be like,
goes like 0 for 7.
30 minutes the next game. Yeah, we know who's calling the shots here. Just get out of here, JJ.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. Look, the draft is still a few weeks away. And the crazy thing is the rumors will probably just get more and more outlandish the closer we get to it.
Do you think he slips in the first round? Do you think he goes in the first round?
Bronny at this point,
I heard the Suns were considering it at 22.
I feel like Bronny.
Yeah, I heard that rumor too. Yeah,
I feel like he does, but at the same time, I feel like whoever picks him, it's going to be a reach. I feel like he's just he's a second round talent.
Right.
Agreed.
But Especially if the Lakers take him at 17. That would just be absolute insanity at their part at that point.
Yeah, I can
Like,
imagine the coverage if we hear pick number 17, Bronny James. People might be like, wait, what? The 54th best prospect taking a number 17? Okay. Like, they take him at 17. It's like, it's written in the stars. Like, LeBron is clearly pulling the strings. Like, he's running the team at that point.
Yeah, they better hope
Lakers-
that he falls to their second round pick, because
Right, because at that
if
point,
he goes pick
you're taking
17,
a flyer at the second point in the second round. Like, people can live with that. But if he goes 17th overall, that's going to be wild.
I'm going to be dying of laughter if he goes at 17. That would be the most hilarious thing ever.
even 22 is laughable. But if the Suns do it, I'm just kind of like, whatever, man. It's the Suns at this point. It's just the Suns, I guess. It's their luck.
The Suns are just a lost franchise at this point anyway, so.
Yeah. At that point, you're taking Bronny. You're like, hey, Beal, better watch your back. He's coming for your spot as
Grayson
lead
Allen,
point guard.
pack them bags.
Bradley Beal would just laugh at that point.
Oh, man. All right, yeah. Had some time there. Figured we'd talk about Caitlin Clark and Bronny James. We'll definitely be talking about those two a lot more over the next coming weeks, especially, like I said, the draft is June 26th, so about 3 weeks away, which then everything goes crazy. And this year, the NBA is doing 2 nights. I believe round one's like night 1 Wednesday, 8 o'clock.
Really?
Yeah. Round 2 will be Thursday, like 4 p.m. That's
Okay.
That's wild to see the second round 4 p.m. But I kind
No
of get it.
offense to the NBA. No offense to
Yeah.
the NBA. After the first round, it's just background noise to me at that point. I don't think I'm turning it on for a whole second day of
Yeah.
round 2 draft coverage. I'm just like
That's what-
scrolling
that's what I
through
figured.
and see if any of my boys got drafted, and then seeing how the undrafted free agent thing worked.
Hey, listen, the second round is noisy and it's tough. This is coming from somebody who went broke buying in on Sam Merrill's stock. But yeah, no, I get the idea because they're gonna hype it. Oh, Jokic and Manu went in the second round.
Yeah.
But let's be real. How many Jokic's and Manus are really gonna see from the second round?
Yeah.
And the fact that they put it at 4 in the afternoon, they understand what the second round is.
I
I
don't know
think
why
for
they just
them,
didn't
though,
keep it
it's
as a
like-
back burner.
But it's like you watch the draft on draft night. They start at like 8. You're doing the second round. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I don't know who's paying attention 11 o'clock at night to like 50th pick in the draft. At that
Who's
point,
going to pay attention at 5 p.m. to the 50th pick in the draft?
I mean, look, maybe you're driving home from work. You got NBA radio on. You're just listening to it, and you're like, I
Nah,
don't know who that is, but I'll clap for him. Like, I don't know.
I'll be home.
It's like, oh no, the 76ers and the Thunder trade 4 second-round picks to move up 1 spot. Like, okay.
Like, I'll be home with nothing to do, so I'm pretty sure I'll end up listening to it. But if you're like willingly on like an hour-long car ride just listening to the second round of the draft, I think there's an issue. There's an underlying issue there. Call your therapist.
The UNC Chattanooga, huh? Oh, wait.
Oh man! All right, I mean that's kind of all we have for you guys tonight. Great show. Appreciate it. All of you who tuned in, who's in the chat, all of you who will probably check this out after the fact, greatly appreciate it. Like I said at the top, Jake will be back at some point in a few weeks. So for now, you'll probably get Dylan, Brett, and myself for the next coming weeks. We'll talk more NBA. We'll talk some NFL when deals go down as we get through OTAs. I mean, we'll have preseason around the corner in no time, which that's going to be interesting time. And next thing you know, the NFL season's around. So
Can't wait. I miss it.
Yes, I miss it as well. I'm ready for the Drake made Jalen Pope touchdowns. I'm ready for him, or Javon Baker, either one. I don't care. Yeah,
Geno season.
Just any season. I don't care. Jets fans, losing their mind over Aaron Rodgers, only to be let down.
When he gets injured in the second game.
The amount of Jets fans that were freaking out over the OTA video where he was like limping around. I mean, you would have thought they lost their best friend because they were like, "Oh
Who's
my
their
god!"
backup there now, though?
Is it Tyrod Taylor?
Is it?
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Actually, I like Tyrod Taylor, so I'm okay with that. I'm sorry, Aaron
He's got
Rodgers. I
some
don't
of
want
the
you to get
worst
hurt, but
luck.
yeah.
Like
Me,
he's had
Tyrod-
some of the worst luck in the NFL, but yeah, I like Tyrod Taylor.
I know
too.
Tyrod Taylor when he finally might have a chance to be a solid backup. Aaron Rodgers plays a full healthy season.
No, every time that man had a chance to be a starter, the team would just nail their franchise QB and have to ship him out.
Yeah, pretty
Josh
much.
Allen, Justin Herbert.
Tyrod Taylor.
Poor Tyrod Taylor literally had his chance for the Chargers, and they popped his lung.
Yeah.
Like, poor
Most
dude.
freak way to lose your starting job. The team doctor.
And they did. And then they shipped you out too. They said, "Nah, sorry, man."
Wild.
Sorry about your lung, bro, but use your walking papers.
Right. But yeah, so I mean, next time we are on here, we will be 2 games in with the NBA Finals. So, be ready for that series to switch to Dallas. We'll see where all that's at. Like I said, NFL will still have some OTA stuff, but we're not really paying attention until we get into probably preseason action. And yeah, the Caitlin Clark story is not going to go away. So if you're sick of it already, you're only like a quarter of the way through the season, so you'll get a lot more of it.
She's got a long career coming up.
Yeah, so get used to it. So for myself, Dylan, and Brett, this has been the On the Ball podcast. We are out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we will see you all next week. All right. Bye.
Have a good night, everyone.